Hey everyone, I'm Tassinix, and welcome to Plotting and Scheming. We're covering Season 48, 3 vs. 3 Grand Arena Championship for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. I am here with my co-hosts Dagger, TJ, and Sasha Isha. Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you once again for making the time. How's it going? Chime in at random. First come, first serve. Fight. Throw the spear.
Good. Great to be here, Tess. Yeah, thank you for having us.
Good. Tass is still not the best. Just want to call that out.
Dear God, no. You can't go 1 and 2 and be the best, I'll tell you what.
That's right.
It's gonna be hell week.
Yep. All right. Well, y'all know what it is. Let's get right into it. I'm a few minutes late in getting here to our recording time. It's been a long day at work, but let's jump right into the goods. What worked this week? Dagger, go ahead and sound off. You usually go pretty clean for attack, so I'm sure you have a couple good things to report.
Yeah, Afra continues to no one's surprise, that level 9 is really good against Jabba, and as long as you do like the third into basic, into third, and then lead with the basics of the other two droids, the proc or bonus turns, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't just spam the farthest right special in this fight. Mm-hmm. But as long as you kind of got it down, like, it feels pretty smooth. I'm not saying you can't lose it, but it feels pretty smooth. JML versus Lord Vader continues to just be fantastic. I really like that he's contesting GLs and 3s. Otherwise, he feels kind of like a bum, if you will. Mm-hmm. Right? He feels kind of like what you use C for. I guess I'll kill this random thing. And those are the two that stood out. Outside of that, like you said, I run pretty clean on attacks, so not a whole lot of fancy stuff. Oh, Gidme versus Rex 5s.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Okay, yeah, dig that.
As long as you outrun.
All right, respect it.
Yeah.
TJ, what's the deal? What worked well for you this week?
It's not really a lot of surprises. Everything pretty much played like it was supposed to. Afra does God's work against Jabba. Obviously, again, I'm going to knock on wood. When your Afra doesn't get targeted from the opening rip, you win. Is pretty much how it gets down to, right? Man. If she gets open focused, just be prepared for your next counter. It's going to be a fast fight. That I think was a good one. Adred's still doing Adred things, which I love it in 3s. Just there's no reason to set it because he kills so many things and punches way up.
Who are we talking about? Who was your highlight?
The biggest one for Adred for me. I don't think it's anywhere crazy. Iden with 200% defense on top of a 400% level 6, and still, I came out still 57. It's still money shots. Where I bummed out on Ewoks, it destroyed a proper Ewok team, like it was nothing. They just kill over. It was amazing. Mm-hmm. It did a couple of good ones. Other good things that I would call out. Obviously, the SOKR Crew Malicos is the Leia killer in 3s. It stands the time of doing that. It may not be great banners, but it allows you to set Leia. And you're having to take out the same team, and if they set the counters for Leia, then you win. So it's doing good things there. What was another good one? I had one more. Treya on the Tuskens is still like the way to go if you're doing it. That's that. I had one where I made a mistake, but it wasn't the team's fault. Completely user error because I wasn't paying attention and going too quick. I think that was a big one. And Wampa still can do Wampa things. I think that's the other good one. Wampa is still a fun time, man. You find the right team to do it. Trenches and all these other ones. Ken or Matt set Jawas on me, and old school Xylo for the 59 was still money. So, you can punch up with the thing. Don't put him on defense. If you're allowing your Kylo, your old school Zeta Kylo, to go in and wreck your team for a 59, that doesn't feel good. Well, it felt great me doing it, but it doesn't feel good losing to that when that could be something else.
Fair, completely fair. All right. Sasha, what worked for you this week?
Sure. A number of the offensive things were already covered, so I'm going to move over to the other side of the board and talk about a few surprisingly effective defensive squads.
Well, we have a segment for standout defenses.
If you want to just hold on for, yeah, okay.
So all of your attacks were pretty much covered here earlier?
Yeah, I would, let me think if there's any that I would add. I had mentioned last time, like I think at the end of our last session, that don't forget that for those of you that have a job with Datacron, it's there like as a break glass in case of, geez, can I clear this type of emergency? And it actually served that purpose for me. So that was kind of fun. Rather than saying it on defense and giving up a 59 to OG Kylo, I was able to use it to at least blow up a few Ewoks to make a team clearable when late in a match that otherwise wouldn't have been. And then, I think everything else is pretty well covered. So I've got a bunch more to go through later on.
No worries. Well, for my own part, for successful attacks, things that were not, again, already covered. I fought Sasha Isha here in round 1, and Treya Nihilus Scion did take on Treya Nihilus Savage, the caveat, of course, being all 3 of mine were faster than all 3 of theirs, so I just manhandled the fight as such. I fought yours and then Kabuki's. Each of you offered like a Paz Vizsla, Grogu IG-12 thing. You set, I think, armor, and he set BAM. Against yours, the first attack failed, and I'll cover that later. But the second one, with armor lead, I was able to take out with just Boss Grief Mando. Would have been a 57 if it was the first attempt. JKR, Jedi Cal, and Mace, I judged as being necessary against very high health Malgus. You happen to have one pushing almost 89% health on the Datacron. The JKR was helpful, I gotta say. Probably could have gotten away with Bastila, but that round I had Bastila on defense, so whatever. Definitely JKR earned his worth. To your point, TJ, on Tuskens, man, I've been needing, as evidenced just by a moment ago, but I've been needing my Treya elsewhere for some other fight. So Gas Rex 5s remains kind of like my go-to for the impossible ones. Like, I've been hoed out before by Sasha Isha's Tusken team in 3s with a Tusken Datacron. That was the last time we had one of those. You ain't gonna catch me like that, so that was gas. Everything else I'd say was pretty straight up. Nothing too crazy. Yeah, I had that poor son of a bitch for round 3. That was the 4 million account from Erodium 1 that got bugged up to the top bracket. So, Godspeed to you, sir, on your way. Sorry about last week, man. I wouldn't thank anybody for that. All right, segment 2.
I will say, Cass, I saw on that last match that you had, I believe you probably set a banner score record. You hit what I didn't even realize was mathematically possible. I think a 2100, was it?
Dead Nuts 2100, certainly probably the highest score you'll ever see out of me. It's nothing to toot my horn about because, the guy was Erodium 1. Poor man literally had 2 GLs. Like, it's nothing to write home about. But as far as, like, magnitude, yeah, you're probably never going to see a higher number than that out of me, for sure. Out of anyone, possibly. Anyway, let's go into segment 2. What failed us? What left us for dead? Dagger. Again, since you're pretty clean, I imagine you won't have a lot to say here, but we'll start with you again. Or not, you can just pipe in from time to time, tell me to go play in traffic. That's cool. TJ, we'll circle back to Dagger. TJ, let's hear about you.
What
let you down?
I'm the long wall of failure. Let's go with Sasha.
Nah, bro, I got rounds 1 and 2 to talk about, so we're all gonna be in good company.
Buddy,
but let's have it.
I also went 1 and 2, and so many things failed. But okay, this is 99% my fault. I'm not like no excuses because my time was so screwed up this week for family, holidays, kids home, everything else like that. I misplayed and played badly so many fights that should have been slam dunks that I caused my own failures. 100%. Not calling anything out. Ewoks, I let Ewoks catch me the second round with Visago, only because I wasn't paying attention and I used resources elsewhere because I was going quick. And so that caught me out, and that's so many things failed. Troopers failed on that. And I went first, but they were so thick that I couldn't get to that damage point. It was way above threshold.
Yeah.
C, Ken set C, armor, and set on me. And because he set that on me, I still took a C mirror, but I didn't give it enough respect. Well, that damage intake from C with his stuff, that was a hold. Didn't want it to go that way. There's so many fails. So many beautiful fails. JMK on LV. I know Dagger talked about JML, and I did. Got to 7. JMK, he had 145% defense. I couldn't punch through it fast enough. There's just not enough oomph on this team to waste your JMK there when JML with some stuff
just carving
50, 70.
stuff.
It's just eating through them, right? Because if you've got I've got an 80% protection cron, so I've got the pieces. So I've got the pieces for the things, right? Waste,
no
far
doubt,
waste.
no doubt.
Treya failed me on Kin's Tuskins because I misplayed it. Where else? Where else did I burn? Dude, I got burned out. So Qui-Gon is just absolute poopy right now. I tried to go against the Saw, Kyle, and Rex, and it was the damage reduction. I barely killed Kyle. I didn't kill all of Saw's protection, and I got into some of Rex's health. It's just there's no oomph to this team right now. So it's like all of these fails and the stuff that's happening is just silly dum-dums. JMK versus Array, which was a misplay. I will say I had to try it out, and it was a very well-learned fail. Alpha versus LV. I was able to kill Thrawn. I didn't get to kill Maul or anything like that, but I think I could have. I think there was a step or two where if I would have made one change, I would have at least killed the sides on my third round and been just fine. But because I didn't do that, I lost the fight, but it was well learned, and I know it's there. It doesn't have to be task level BT or something like that to not get the job done. I think that's good, man. It was, like I said, this week was all me's, not like, oh, this doesn't work. But I will say, Sasha's right. We talked about it, and it was funny. We did the same thing. Really, Visago just decked out Ewoks, 300 speed, Paplu. I was down to just figuring it out, right? Like, fuck it, I'm trying Jawas. Jawas killed off 2 of the 3 just fine. Felt good. They weren't decked out mods, but I had Chirpa dead and I had Nisa dead. So it was just a little Paplu. Paplu is just too thick, man, which is fine. It's okay, but if you're stuck like that, that was cool to see that I know that Jawas can punch up enough that if you really need it, they'll be there for you in your time of need.
No, I respect that. All right. Dagger, you back with us?
Yeah. Sorry, I got a couple other things that currently will drag my attention away.
Hey, we're recording this here in the early evening time EST. Everybody's got families. It's all right. But yeah, what we'll let you down.
It's currently 4:38 my time, so it's almost 10. It's getting closer to dinner for me, so I get it. But Wampa's been timing out for me, which has been problematic.
On who now? Let's hear about it.
So a Sortie GG Droideka. Droideka died really fast.
Super high defense?
And then I just... let me pull the cron up.
Historically... Sorry, go ahead.
207% defense, 52% offense. Or 50% health, sorry. I
mean, yeah. Historically, it's the super high defense ones that have jammed up my my Wampa.
Yeah. I mean, I still... Man, the problem wasn't even that I timed out, but the problem was, GG didn't die. Like it wasn't the defense. The defense had almost no effect on that fight whatsoever. It was GG having like 280k health or whatever he had, right? So he just on his turn he would just stay alive long enough to where Wampa never killed him, and the fight was on auto the entire time.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, he just that was the problem. It was the health on GG. The defense was borderline irrelevant because Sortie kept going back down into the yellow, right? Wampa had enough damage to kill Sortie. Just kept getting stuck on not being able to kill GG because of the mark. And then I timed out against a really big Iden team. And that's whatever, I guess. Like it's just yeah, Wampa's been not particularly great for me this.
I want to.
All right, now, I'm right here. I think TJ and I are on the same brainwave because I want to say right now that whenever me, Dagger, and TJ are sitting around doing like our group planning sessions and we're talking about B teams set on defense, Dagger's going to be that guy that's the first guy to say, "Oh, I would just crap on that with Wampa," and then he goes to crap on something that he's for sure going to kill with Wampa, right? Because he'll tell me and TJ uphill and down that this is just going to be a for sure with Wampa, and then he gets crapped on with Wampa, even though we say
that. All right, so Tash wants to run his mouth here, but this is the first two times I've timed out with Wampa.
That's actually what I was going to say.
So you can just take that opinion and shove it up your ass.
I'm going to put an asterisk, so I'm going to do this, right? It's not what I was going to say. I'm putting an asterisk next to Dagger's Wampa like I do when Tash says everything dies with Afra. Dagger has an exceptional Wampa, so for him to say he's timing out, that's what I'm saying. It's not nothing. When he's saying he's timing out with Wampa, there are things that other people cannot kill that he can, just like Tass will do with Afra and BT before this Kron. So when he's saying that actually needs the asterisk to say that's a decked out super Wampa. That's not just an average Wampa. I would call mine above average, but his is far superior to mine. So just to make sure I'm calling that. So if he's calling out that he's timing out with a Wampa, that's actually a pretty big notion.
So yeah, super high defense is definitely impediment to Wampa.
No, it's not. No, it's not, because I fought the exact same team the round before with 410% defense, and I won in under 4 minutes.
So your contention would be the health is the...
Yes, that's what I said when I was telling you about the fight. It was GG not dying because he would deal damage to Sortie and gain health, and he just continued to be too thick. The defense doesn't matter a ton, just because GG will eventually die. But the health, compounding itself, was very brutal. And then the Sortie team was, the Iden team, I manualed it because I was just whatever, and if I just autoed it, I would have won. Because I'm a dum-dum.
All right, skill issue. You heard it here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, I like using Wampa. It's very satisfying to use Wampa's abilities. And then
All right, fair enough.
I can't talk to that. Sorry, I got nothing for you on that one.
And then I was forced into a position where I had to try Starkiller on Ray, to no one's surprise. That didn't really work.
Ooh, yeah, bro.
But it's not like that was one of the things I was like, oh my god, this is what I was planning. It's more or less like I opened the back wall and saw Slacker Malicos free, and it's like, okay,
stacking defense continues to just brutalize Starkiller for sure. So I'm right there with you on that.
Yeah, so I had to try to pivot that, and then it's like, all right, well, I have to get the fleet now, so we'll just JMK the Ray and leave the back zone. And I ended up winning that round because he overset, and I didn't have an answer for his SLK Malicos crew because I don't want to say made a mistake. I just didn't think that through. That was the one I was in a rush. We talked about that one. That was one. The last two rounds, I was in a huge rush in the last hour and a half doing my guy.
Got you. Yep, fair enough.
So, yeah, that's all I got. TJ can. I'll start up the violin for TJ.
No. You missed her. I mean, TJ, you're welcome to throw in anything else you had, but we already covered what I thought was TJ's shame.
I'll give you a good one. There's one I did forget.
Serve it up. Serve it up.
Gas versus Saw, Rex, and Kara.
Oh, this is a gem. I would think that would be a slam dunk.
You would think so.
You would.
And you know what? And I go back and look at the fight and where it was at, and where it caught me. And honestly, it boils down to I needed to take more defense on the Kron, and I would have been fine. The fact I took high crit damage, and I was taking, and we were talking through it with Brock and everybody, and the thought was, if for every point he hits, it's gonna slap. If I would have taken the defense, I would have been fine. So I would call it Kron misuse that would have caused it. But yeah, Fives Rex and Fives Rex gas, man. Failed on Saw.
Wow.
When you say gas, do you mean Rex 5s or do you mean
Yeah,
our
full money. No. Full
Okay,
money.
okay.
Gas Rex
Sorry,
fives.
sorry,
Yeah,
just
because you.
I mean, it's
Oh yeah, no,
incredible.
because you want the tenacity up, right?
What was
and
the, I'm sorry, what was the Saw comp, though?
just nothing. Saw Krex and Kara. It
Kara.
wasn't like
Oh, no, come on. You got to put respect on his name.
oh,
Crex
I
ain't
mean
no horseshit.
absolutely. But it's gas. You would still
Yeah.
would be able to push,
You when you said it was horseshit, I thought it was Saw plus like Boo Boo, who are also Sith
oh no,
or sorry, Rebel fighters.
if you don't put Rex on there, you want it.
Okay,
Like,
okay. Well, okay, all right. And I assume that was like buffs on 3, damage reduction on
Yeah,
6.
it was
What
damage
was
reduction.
the 9? What was the 9?
It was the Saw one. So it's the damage
Okay.
reduction on top of. But
Okay.
here's the thing:
Yeah.
the damage was not overpowering, and that's what we kept talking about. Why gas should be fine. The Kron didn't have high crit damage; it had high defense. No, 100% defense, 119 or something like that. It wasn't nothing to sneeze about. It wasn't 100% crit damage. It's just they just sustained so much better than I could, and they just overpowered me.
Okay, I can dig that. Fair. Anything else you wanted to highlight? Or low light, as the case may be.
I think I've shamed myself enough, sir.
Okay, good. Okay, all right. To Sasha Isha we go. Expose your shame, sir. What let you down this week? You and I sweat it out, man. I'll tell you what. You having a lot of extra crons. I'm not hating on you at all for that. Like me struggling at the end. I know that even if I had been successful on that first attempt on your last team, I still would have lost by banners. So I can't hate from that point of view. But, like, man, you were long on Kron, so I want to hear where you got, like, shafted this week. I really want to hear it.
Yeah. you got it. You got it. So I will say one thing that I did this week that probably served me pretty well. I did go 3-0 this week. We talked before about a meaningful difference between set 11 and set 12, right?
Yes.
Like, I mean, the offensive buffs that you get in set 11. So I'm not surprised. I actually feel really good that you got that impression from running up against me, Tass. But the reality is, I had deliberately set way more of my set 11 on defense and just said, "Hey,
God, I noticed." How could I not?
Yeah.
Everything was
Sorry, my friend.
like all defense numbers started with 3 and then 2 other digits at minimum.
Yeah.
At minimum.
Yeah. And then with the they're ramping like crazy. So I did that intentionally. I will say it did leave my experience on offense like different than past seasons because I always go heavy on Datacrons. But set 12 sucks. I didn't really race out to get a ton of them, not doing the re-rolling that I had before. So I had to get more creative in offense. And yeah, that did mean in some cases I struggled, particularly late in matches that were fairly bloody. So let's see. In the first match, in our match, Tass, one, I think, real learning for me, and something that did not work was against your Ray. And, you had a good defense, stacking defense, Ufu, Kron, and Ray. I'm like, there's no way I'm taking Star Killer. So I went with Jabba. But the mistake that I made there was taking the Bausch Kron, or the Boost Kron. Because I took that Kron, there's so much turn meter. There's so much just ramping again and again and again that while I was able to, I think before your Ray took an ult, my Jabba got 2 ults, and I just kept going and going and going. But your Ray was in damage immunity and had not taken ult, and then goes into ult. And I'm like, oh my God, I can only imagine what her offense is ramped to. Like, her mastery is like 10 billion at this point because she has crit immunity, or the crit immunity buff up that she gets right at the very beginning is there through the entire match. I'm like 2.5 minutes in, and I'm gaining turn meter the entire time. I should have recorded it, but I'm like, forget it. I'm just going to hit auto, and I'm like, it'll be fun to watch a giant number go up. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I think she did. Yeah, she did. My recollection was around 5 million in damage 1.7 million on each of my characters, so 5.1. She just ramped and ramped and ramped, and everything disappeared. So that was a learning. Then let's see. A couple interesting things in match 2. I had Dr. Padon. It was good to match up with him again. It's been a while. So, 2 observations from that match. One is the flip side of stacking Ufukron for Starkiller. Because obviously it makes that Starkiller versus Ray counter so hard, and it sucks for Starkiller's value because of that. He set a very fast EP Marajade Starkiller squad with great defense and stacking defense, and I couldn't outspeed it. So I'm like, okay, there are other options, and historically that's been a somewhat vulnerable squad. You can throw like Grievous and other stuff, but when the defense is really strong, a lot of those counters get pretty iffy. I took Reva, figuring, what the hell? Like, if nothing else, Reva will at least, be able to take them out, even if it's a little bloody. I was able to get EP to break the mechanic, and so the squad wasn't utilizing all of Starkiller's kit after that. Mm-hmm. But Starkiller got to ult, and once he got to his ult, my 2 sides were dead, and Reva just sort of sat there stunned and was eventually killed. So that was a loss. Again, Starkiller more viable on D than before. Another interesting thing, some of my more curious, scientific research projects this week were on Ewoks, and one was so Padon had very good, very fast, I think 410 effective speed Paplu Ewok, and I had a bit of a banner lead. I think he was kind of hard stuck. So I'm like, what the hell? I'm going to get a little creative, and I've always been searching for use for ISC and Gar. So I tried Gar, ISC, and Royal Guard, because Royal Guard on its taunt move gets retribution, and so if he can counter, Gar and ISC join in on the fun, I have high tenacity on Gar and ISC. I didn't have high tenacity on Royal Guard. So it worked initially, and I was able to kill every one of the Ewoks once, and then Papu a second time. But once they got a stun on RG, and I got no more counters, they were eventually able to. It didn't take that long. The whole thing was like a minute 20 seconds. But with a minute 20 seconds, with a total of 7 deaths in it, maybe more than that, because I guess Gar and ISC died twice. So a lot of action, but I ended up getting one of the Ewoks. So that was a learning. And then interesting thing in my third match, which was with Aesop. Always fun, and frankly,
this is incredible. I want to highlight this because, again, Sasha is only a few months back into, being in a regular of the top bracket, and Aesop remains, 1-2. He is the apex predator. So go on from here.
Yeah, so a great match, and just a good dude. So it's always fun to match up with him. And I'm at least for the moment, I'm getting closer. So after this, I'm other than somebody else who had a glitch coming up from whatever Rhodium, I'm number 2 behind him right now. But our match was very hard fought. A few learnings for me in terms of failment. I'll come back to some other stuff as well, but in subsequent segments here. But I struggled against his Malgus squad, but it was with the understanding I probably was going to 2-shot that. Because I had used my Jedi Knight Cal along with JML to take on an LV Maul Malicos squad that he'd set, and I just did not want to run the risk of a hard fail on that LV Malicos squad, as much as it's vulnerable to JML. I wanted to ensure that I took it down and was willing to take a 2-shot, but I did. JKL did not work on it, and then a couple other interesting things there. He set this is the beauty of playing against Aesop. He has all the toys, right? So
yes.
And he's creative about using them. So I faced an Ewok squad. However, and I had to like do a double take. It was Tebow lead. Tebow, Nisa, Paplu. And, one thing out of that is like, I talked about the potential use of like GAR, ISC, and Royal Guard to get these counters running. And you can hopefully, if you don't get stunned, plow down those Ewoks. If they're stealth, you can't counter them. Right. So I'm like, oh, man, so much for that. He had been stuck on my defense, so I felt I had a pretty good chance to get creative, and that's when, like TJ and I had talked about before, I'm like, all right, let's go into the bag and pull out a set of Jawas and just see what happens. And that went 5 minutes with tons of explosions. There were bits of Ewok and some Jawa spread all over the room, but ultimately, both Tebow and Nisa blew themselves up. And Paplu would get like, a decent amount, like 5, 10, I think at the most I got like 13, 14 detonators on him. It's just he has no offense and like no critical damage. And so the damage inflicted by detonators is based on, whatever the target's offense is. And so he was like just shrugging them off, and I timed out. Then the last thing that I'll add that was super cool. I was almost going to do this for a separate segment, but I kind of felt like the analogy for this, I would say it's like if I was just sort of like on a hike in the woods, and I came across a mythical animal, like something that I don't like. Hey, is that a tree fairy, or is that an elf? Because it's something I'd always heard about, but I was just sure wasn't real. What that was in this case was an Akbar Leia double Ami with the Akbar Datacron perfect turn meter squad. Because who else could pull it off but Aesop? And there it was in the back wall, and I'm like, this is cool as shit.
Oh, and now what are the attributes that made this team so dangerous? Akbar, Leia, and who?
Akbar, Leia, Old Ben, who's R9, of course.
As is tradition.
Right. There was a ton of speed on Akbar and on Leia. So once they move, now the attributes come out of the Ami on Akbar, the Ami on Leia, combined with the Datacron. So again, Akbar's lead, anytime one of the member of the team takes a non-attack action, it calls an assist. The Akbar Ami adds that whenever another ally attacks during Akbar's turn, Akbar gains 25% turn meter. Akbar's already, I think, gaining, I'd have to take a look at his kit, but it's like 45% turn meter. Leia, 2/3 of the time is taking non-attack moves because she's doing her little stealth thing, calling other assists. So Akbar's reloading his turn meter consistently. Ben has at least one of his 3 turns is a non-attack. Unfortunately, his hand wave, the mind trick, they consider an attack, so he doesn't draw the same assists. But his taunt is a non-attack. And I took, the first thing I took against that was, again, because I couldn't use it on the Ewoks, was the Gar Saxon ISC RG1. And it was hilarious. I watched it just sort of start to go, and like it just kept moving and moving and moving. This is, that wasn't even the first one. I'm sorry. For some reason, I'm looking at .gg and it shows it as the first attack, and that wasn't. It's missing one. Let me take a quick look. That was like my second or third to get it down. Yes. Yeah. So there are other attacks I have that aren't reflected on .gg for some reason. First, I used a trench one. It was trench, Newt, and Django. No. I'm sorry. It was Trench, Watt, and Django. Okay. And I'm like, oh, perfect. I'll put the tank tech on Django. I do, and as you know, he's got damage immunity because of a Separatist lead. Mm-hmm. It was 5 minutes, so they moved after that. I never moved again. And I just, for the hell of it, let it run because I'm like, this is so entertaining. Yeah. It was 5 minutes of them peppering a damage immunity Django, and I'm watching, and Django's turn meter did not move.
Oh my god!
So it was a perfect turn meter cycle. So that was the first one.
That's
then
tough to pull off in 3s. So credit given where credit's due.
Dude, it was awesome. I think I put in a Shock Echo Arc one after that, and I'm like, oh, this is smart of me because Shock has that unique that gives her turn meter passively if a clone is attacked. And I'm like, so, that's perfect. She'll get to go. I'll do an all in. I'll take them down. Meanwhile, like, of course, they've got damage reduction as well. So, like, who was I kidding? Anyway, 3 seconds in, Shock was dead, and that was not going to work. And then I took GG, going, aha, okay, I've got another TM gimmick I'm going to use. I'm going to do GG, Magna Guard, and B2. Right. And so they'll have to go in on Magna Guard, and B2 is just going to pepper them, and I'm going to get them covered in target lock.
Yeah.
GG will take them. This is great. That lasted about like 25 seconds of nonstop turn meter train.
Wow.
And I'm like, dude, this is serious hard stop material. And I still was going to be okay in the match, assuming everything. He went like 18 battles into one of my squads on the top front and did not seem to be able to get through. But I'm like, I still want to figure out how to deal with this. And the last thing that did put the dent in the wall, I had no Imperial Troopers because I otherwise would have tried that. But I did the GAR ISC RG, and they just kept peppering me. I had to wait. Like eventually, it was maybe once every 30 seconds, Akbar or Ben would take a basic. Because as I mentioned with the kit, right, it's like there are a ton of non-attacks that are calling assists. You can't counter those. So I'm getting peppered with all of these, and RG is getting worked down. But occasionally, Akbar would take a basic or Ben would take a basic. Once either of those things happened, my squad had a 50% chance to counter. And if they did, they would put the harm down on them. That happened enough times. I got through the R9 old Ben. I was timed out before I could get Akbar down. But anyway, long-winded way of saying that was it was like a mythical beast. It was like running into something that like we all thought when we originally read these kits or saw these data cards, oh man, wouldn't that be cool? It'd be really interesting. I wish it could work. And there it was. That was I saw like an elf or a gnome or whatever that mythical beast that is.
Well, thank you. That's incredibly thorough, and I think both myself and I think all the people appreciate that, because that kind of detail is really necessary when you're like trying to thread the needle with these datacrons. So I appreciate that. I really do. All right, so next segment here, we're going to talk about standout defenses. So. Dagger, go ahead and open up. What overperformed for you on defense this week?
As always, Qui-Gon. Don't know why, but it continues to be one of my top 2 to 3 hold getters outside of the obvious.
Now, is that the customary one hold where they kill Qui-Gon and they clean it up, or were you getting more than one out of curiosity?
Well, very frequently it's the customary one, but this week it was a 5, 3, and 2.
Ooh. Yeah, see, it's rare that should happen, but when it does, nice.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty consistent for me. People consistently try to, like, do not JKR GMY, not newt things to it. So like this guy, like one guy was like, I'm going to see if Ewoks can kill Qui-Gon. Yeah, spoiler, it didn't. But yeah, I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but yeah, it's it doesn't feel like they were taking it seriously. Still, one time I put C in the back. That's the one where I had to go at the end, and I couldn't clear his slacker, Malikos crew, and he could not get my C down, and that was it. I was more efficient on the rest of the board.
Nice. A nice difference made.
Ray, obviously, 2 out of the 3 opponents tried to star killer it. I don't know where that soundboard thing is of the fail, but yeah, it was.
boom.
History being up makes this really kind of entertaining to go look. Yeah. Boom.
Wait. We're on Discord right now. Hold on. I can find it. Hold on. I got you, dog. Come on. Where is that?
Yeah.
Got you, dog.
Yeah, and just various other random holds. I'm trying to think what else. There was another team that actually performed pretty. Oh,
Oh, you cut out.
basic hold out.
You said
Oh,
something else performed well for you on defense. What was it?
Hondo with the basic cooldown level 6.
Hell yeah! Now, so was that the IG-11 Queel thing or
Yeah.
something else?
Yep. Just Queel lead IG-11 Hondo. Continue. It got one shot, one round because people don't realize you just Aiden it and move on with your life. But yeah, people have been putting Aiden on defense this month.
Yes, they have
because of the Kron, and it. I mean, don't get me wrong; it's a good team on defense right now, but man, the flexibility of that team on offense, I think takes away from some of your options. But that's pretty much all I got. Is those three teams were kind of the standouts for me.
Okay. All right. Fair. TJ, key defenses for you. Surely not everything could have gone bad. TJ. Did we lose our TJ?
No, I just started talking on mute.
Yeah, good. Start talking on mute. Yeah. Sound off, bro.
I hate to say it. This week was an efficiency week, so I sucked at it, of course. Both my two first opponents were efficiency players, so they literally cleared my entire board, no problem. There's nothing to report, and my third one didn't try, so I won't call anything like that. There's nothing that stands out, unfortunately, and that's why I don't play well in those games. Anything you would think they cleared it just fine with reasonable teams. So unfortunately, I don't get to add much here.
Completely fair. Sometimes it do be like that. Sasha, all right, you went 3-0 this week. Surely you were just breaking the backs of the enemy, myself included.
Well, there was one squad in particular, and then there's also a silver medalist that I've got. But definitely the gold medal goes to, of all things, Finn, Zori.
Yes.
And in my 3 matches with you, Paydon, and Ace, it got a total of 35 holds.
Just incredible.
I mean, absolutely.
And you backwalled it all 3 rounds, didn't you bastard?
I put it top front against Aesop, but he went through everything else. It had the benefit, that point of, it was probably the 15th squad on a lot of folks planning in their attack against me. And it was teed up, and chatting with Aesop about it, I think it was really, its success was a product of the silver medals impact. And the silver medal squad I had here was that saw Captain Rex Kara, like we've talked about before, have a mixture of solid defense, some health, and some crit damage on a Saw level 9. And that squad got over the week a total of 9 holds. And I know for Aesop, it ate 5 really good squads before a 6th took it out. And that's what really left it his toolbox, while never empty, but Aesop's collection, it just didn't have the right pieces in it because Rex had eaten them up. So the Finn squad held.
Wow. No, I believe it. And honestly, I think you should have access to see the Task House bots on my Discord. You got to check the poll that I did recently on my Resistance Hero Finn. Honestly, my experience fighting your shit had me remod my 360 Resistance Hero Finn to what ended up being a 361 Resistance Hero Finn, but I switched the triangle from offense to crit damage. Kept a decent amount of offense, but I was like, man, that was horrific. I never want to see that shit again, and I want to put that against all of my enemies. And I remodded frickin' Resistance Hero Poe off that. So, honest to God, you stopped me up for a second. I was like, I got to check out where I'm at in my life right now. I had to do some reconsideration, so I respect that. For my own part, for standout defenses, hold on, let me hit the button. Against here in round 1, Ray did Ray stuff against Jabba. People tried Jabba, the super Jabba against Ray. I will say that I set Ray, Swallow, RJT, the benefit of RJT. In addition to the normal anti-star killer benefits, it just super quickly stacks that 200% defense from the level 6 from set 11 right now. So that's a big deal, and surely that was a determinant in Sasha's Jabba versus Rey attempt. Let's see. Yeah, nothing else to say about the match versus Sasha. All right, next one against Kabuki. Man, I'll tell you what. For the longest time, I thought this man was space jammed. So again, we had an opponent that saved Jabba for offense, saved the Super Jabba, took it up against my Rey, which was up top, right? So greatly did he fear it that was his very first battle. He took out only RJT on the first go after 5 minutes and 6 seconds, so literal overtime as far as the game knew. And it was Rey and Swallow still standing. Then Leia held up against his slacker crew and, Hux. So that was a bit greedy from Kabuki, but yeah, no, he actually withdrew after a minute 27. So I was going to say, like, he made some progress, but no, he had to fully withdraw from that. Second attempt.
Get your shoes, buddy. We're leaving 15.
Oh, no, it's you're all right there.
I didn't realize it was my mute. My bad.
You're good, my dude.
Got my shoes, Dagger. I'm good to go.
That's right. We're all good to go, man. I mean, I assume there's hot chocolate involved or wherever we're going. So, like, I'm getting in the minivan.
Just want to make sure it's 15, Daddy. Just want to make sure it's 15.
That's right. I'm piling in. All right. So against Leia Drogan R2 on the second go, he took in Inquisitors, and I'll be goddamned, he took it right out with Inquisitors. So hear that out, guys. That was 34 banners. It would have been a 54, and that's after a withdrawal. So that is Riva, GI, and 7S, and that did it. That did it. So that's something to keep in mind, because apparently here, what did he have? Did he have anything outstanding on the Kron? He had Stack Def on 6, Buffs on 3, and what was it? 79% crit damage, 225% defense. So the defense might have been very important there, because the crit damage wasn't, exceptional, over 100%. Something to keep in mind. What else performed well on defense? Malgus, Sith Marauder, and BSF. So, he tried to Hondo that. Old Ben Hondo L3 style? Nah, bro. A minute 24 seconds in, that was a withdraw. What else we got? Yeah, like I think you said, TJ. And Dagger. Qui-Gon, JKA Cam. It was good for a 2-shot at least. Now, that's still a cudgel on offense. Not as effective as it used to be, because you don't have the overwhelming offense penetration plus the Jedi bonuses of set 10. But it could still be a pretty effective cudgel, because, it is like that. What else? Saw, Krex, and Baze. So, I'm always thinking about having Radis Jin Baze for the most effective offensive application. And both Dagger and TJ basically, called me a puss magus and told me to set Baze. And I set Baze. And I'll tell you what, to your credit, gentlemen, that shit paid out. Our man tried Bad Batch. That was a gnaw after 24 seconds. Just nah. Get the hell out of my house. And by the way, we're talking about buffs on 3, defense, damage reduction on 6, and the 9 doesn't matter. And honestly, hodgepodge of stats. Some defense, some protection, good chunk of health still. That's about it. But it was just a gnaw to Bad Batch, a gnaw to his Jawas with the Jawacron. He had Tarful because he didn't want to set it on defense. Threw that in the mix. That was worth nothing. Ewoks with, so that's Chirpa, Paplu, Nisa with a Nisacron. Gnaw! That was a gnaw. That was a preload at that point. What else? What else did he throw in? What did he end up doing to get that down? Did I miss some? No, I think I got full cleared every round. Hold on. I must have skipped by it. Oh, he saved Radis after doing all manner of preloads, Radis Jin Baze, and he got it at last. I think. Something like that. Wait a minute. Yeah. Gosh. Finn. So after I fought Sasha round 1, I was like, yeah, no, if Finn's going down, it's Finn Zori Resistance Hero Finn. And guess what? You know what? That panned out too. Somebody tried Kira and that didn't pan out. What else was in round 3? Yeah, you know what? Our opponent in round 3 was that poor 4 million bastard, so he did his one attack and that was it. Nothing to mention planning-wise. All right, so that's it for me. Kicking off our final thoughts, I realize now in retrospect that I skipped my section on what completely let me down. So let me cover that real quick and we'll call it good from me. What let me down on attack? So Sasha set that armor Paz Vizsla and Grogu on me with buffs on 3, 354 defense. And you know, just 34% crit damage. I tried JKL Hoda Jolie. Basically, I think I saw like armor plus Paz JKL had beaten, and I was like, I read the Grogu kit, and I was like, you know what? I see what it does. I feel like I'm gonna be okay. 1 minute and 36 seconds into the fight, I was wrong. I was terribly wrong. It was horribly wrong, and I had nothing but regret. What else let me down? Man,
Did that
Mother
squad
Tal's in
actually
Marin
do any
Zombie.
damage back?
Sorry, what was that?
Did that squad, those light side Mandos, actually do any damage back, or was it just a matter of like their survivability, or
I wanna say,
like
I
Paz
wanna
hits
say-
overheat?
I wanna say that they did manage to just straight like blitz out Jolie, because obviously their focus was on Jolie. So they managed after 1 minute and 36 to just straight out blow him out, despite me using the big heal from Hoda. Yeah, it just didn't make a difference. So I just withdrew before it got worse. And went back in with Bounty Hunters to clean that up. So Boss Grief Mando would have been a 57 on that had I done that on the first rip. Yeah, your Finn Resistance Hero, Finn and Zori, man. Mother Tal's Marin Zombie ain't what it used to be. Ain't what it used to be. But crucially, it was just that terrible scenario where our zombie didn't have taunt. We'd already had the 2 deaths out of her. And they just chose to blow up one, then the other, then zombie. And that was it. So, yeah. Against your Sana, Stormtrooper, Han, and Rolo. With the Rolocron, I saw some win history, believe it or not, with Malik solo with high defense. And I had like a pretty decently speed modded, but also decent amount of secondary defense Malik with 204% defense Kron that I was going to throw at the problem. And after 59 seconds, that shit ain't work. We went in with Gidme, Padme, Shock, and, Gideon against Sana, Stormtrooper, Han, and Rolo for the second attempt. After 34 seconds, that was also a gnaw. And it took Aiden Death Range to finally clean that up. So, lesson learned there. CLS Chupio C3PO of yours, Sasha. We went Bam Han Chewie. That was nope. However, Dagger, I know you give a lot of hate here to Trench, and mostly fairly so. But Trench, Django, and Newt did take out CLS Chupio C3PO with a buffs on 3 and damage reduction 6, pushing 290% defense. Sorry, what was that?
I give no hate to Trench. My irritation in 3v3 with Trench is that you generally don't have Newt or Watt, and I think that Trench kind of sucks.
I may have mischaracterized you, and if so, that's the case. But I feel like whether it's 5s or 3s, I feel like I've heard you've given a decent amount of crap.
Oh yeah. Trench
Trench
without Watt isn't a real team in 5s, and Trench struggles because his pieces are too modular in 3s.
Yeah.
My argument.
Well, I tried any number of things against that Finn Zori as Sasha's, and like I said, that shit ain't work. So let's see. Against Array, JMK Swallow Cal. So I thought it was prudent to execute Cal. Don't do that. Don't do that. Just wait to execute Swallow and then work your way through Cal. Don't do what I did. Don't get stuck pinging. By the way, if it was like JMK Cat Mace, maybe I could have manipulated it differently by having lower max health on some of my enemies over the course of the fight. But like JMK Cat GK against Ray Swallow Cal, when you execute Cal, you have a better than even chance of having problems with Swallow coming back at an inconvenient time. And to my everlasting shame, JMK did lose versus Ray here when it should have otherwise been a sure thing. So I just otherwise mismanaged that against Kabuki. Against Lord Vader, whereas against Sasha in round 1, Afro BT1000 did beat Lord Vader Maul Thrawn against Kabuki. It did not. And then I had to deal with that with, I want to say, Slacker or something like that. Bosk, Grief, Mando failed.
Hey, what was but before you move off that one, Tess, what was the failure condition? Like, what triggered that issue with the Kabuki counter?
Looking at the Kron, I want to say the defense. It was 224% defense. I guess I'd have to look at yours, but basically we pursued the fight the same way.
Not a Bouchron, then.
On Lord Vader?
Oh, sorry. I thought...
I'm talking about Afra versus Lord Vader.
Okay. I think you took Afra against Jabba with Kabuki, though, right?
No. I'm looking at it like on my screen, not now, but right now.
Okay.
I don't think he even set Jabba on me, man. I think he kept that. So
I'm looking at the other side. I'm looking at your defense and his attack against you.
All good. All good. But yeah, Afra let me down there, and against his Tuscans, Boss Grief Mando with, what was it? I kid you not, 200% defense, 60% crit, and 11% health. Admittedly, if it was Prod, it would have been better, but whatever. Like, you figure this would have been robust. Not really. We barely got the opportunity to snipe out the Raider, and as always, if you're in that position where you know you're not going to fully close out the fight, if you're going to choose between sniping Chieftain, Warrior, or the actual Raider, not the summoned Raider, you snipe that Raider. And then I was able to clean it up real easy. Afra, Stormtrooper Han, and Rolo with an Akbar Kron. Buffs on 3, damage reduction 6, and Akbar 9. Bam, Han Chewie failed. Hunter, Echo Tech failed. So just terrible situation there. Against Treya Nihilus Savage, this might be just because of desperation at this point, but Third Sister, GI, Seventh Sister, no dice for sure. A second time this week, Mother Talzin, Marin Zombie let me down against Finzori, and this was with a Rose. Man, so against either Finn or Rose, it's not good. And CLS Chupio C3PO buffs on 3, damage reduction 6, and again, strong defense and health reduction with strong crit damage besides. So like 97% crit, 94% crit damage, 117% defense, 27% health. JKL Hoda Old Ben just wiped out. And then, that third round, everything was smooth because of the more or less bye round. So that wraps up my final thoughts. So I feel that covers me up for that back end that I missed earlier. All right, back over to Dagger. Anything else you want to leave the people with heading into? I guess we usually take a segment here. Sorry, my bad, for lessons learned. But I think, we're closing up on the last few minutes of our availability here. So let's just go ahead and wrap that up into the final thoughts. What do you got here, Dagger?
He got that he had to leave, and you take too long and are long-winded.
That's true, but I missed like a whole part of my own segment earlier.
No. He had to go. I was just being a smartass.
That's all fair. All right, TJ. Final thoughts for the people.
Right now in threes, what I'm seeing and the things that are getting hold, if people go do their research, you need to start playing with your teams you're setting down. I think there's going to be a lot more weight on what it might do for people. I was hearing some crazy combos that are being put down that I think I'm going to try as well. But right now, the offense is so heavy if you're the right kind of player. So you really need to start playing with the teams that are going on defense. I told one to Sasha and some other things I'm going to try to do, but throwing these combo teams together or just getting some kind of tricky stuff and just allowing your opponent to fail on it is going to go a long way, as you've seen.
So being a little more concrete for the people, we're talking about mixing things up for folks with like your B teams, maybe your lower
even
A
your
teams.
GLs, right? So I'll give you one that I faced, and it's like it was a great call out. So my opponent had fully intended to do Jabba on my Leia, so he set down SLK, Malicos, and crew. That's a great team to set down. Because if your intention is for that's going to be your Leia killer, but you are going to go another way and just do Jabba, that's a great team to have to set down. And if you fail on that, you are in a lot of trouble. Another one that people were doing that I was hearing about, Arnold did a video, Brock and a couple others talking about it, CLS, Drogon, and Chupio.
Ooh, nasty.
That is a gross load. And I watched the fight where they put R2 and Ben. And people were underestimating it, didn't take enough, you lose. So it's all of these setups that are doing different things. For me, I'll say the one I did. So Sasha talked about he faced an AA with Leia, and there was this whole proper setup for turn meter. Well, I just put Krex on my AA and Leia team. Who needs to worry about all that stuff if these have to be properly turn metered when you've got a 420 or 430 Rex that's going to daze and stop your team while your team just flies?
No, I think you got a good point there. Like going into this second week, I think deviousness has a premium because for the last
especially right now.
For the last several months, we've had a meta that was defined by super, super powerful crons, and people just place these massive things on defense, and then the challenge was what could overcome them, so the meta became defined around the couple counters for each of these really formidable defenses.
I'm going to say that's exactly what I did, and I paid for it. And all they did was let me hang myself.
Yeah, I
got complacent, and it burned me. But I'm watching all of the streamers and doing all the stuff like that, and these other teams are just completely dumbfounding you of how do I proceed. And
I see it.
And it can get you, that one team can get you a win, as we all know when it comes to threes. One fail on a proper team, you're screwed.
That cascade can be the end of you, for sure. Anything else you wanted to hit?
Dude, I'm so excited to see
on
what
the
we
way
have
out the door.
Yeah, we got Beck, we got Gideon, we got toys, things, new stuff to do. It's going to be a blast, dude. This week is going to be a lot of fun.
Yep. And guys, I'm sure you all have thoughts. For those of you watching this on YouTube here, we're going into the first week where both Kelleran Beck is available, who's a new Galactic Republic Jedi, and that adds, some interesting thoughts to the mix, as well as Dark Trooper Moff Gideon just being unlocked from Conquest. So there's not a lot that we're comfortable saying right now because everything's going to be completely brand new, off the cuff for this next week. But this is the new week to consider him, so completely fair. Sasha, your final thoughts, and any takeaways that you had from this first week, any lessons learned you wanted to apply, and anything else you wanted to kick out to the people.
You guys touched on the big ones. I mean, there's still so much, and I think it's really healthy kind of fluidity and sort of new or reforming metas with these additional characters coming out. So I think that's fantastic. Like, I actually think we'll be looking at the top end where people have all the new toys. We'll be looking at like some meaningfully different boards, defensive boards being set within like a week or two. I think that's I think that's pretty darn cool. The only other thing I'll add is not a huge point, but it's just another sort of step towards a bigger trend. We have the same size board, and we have maybe 1 to 2 cool teams coming out in addition to what we already had every month, it seems. So we are going further and further into the, at least at the high end rosters, the super team era. Like you're just starting to see enough like consolidation where, hey, I've got a bunch of squads, and because it's so offense heavy, it's like, man, I'll give up 1 or 2 other decent squads to try and get a single hold, like something that I think can do the job. So those are the big things, and from my side. But again, I think the game's in a cool, healthy state at the moment with all this stuff.
I completely agree with you there. I mean, for my part, so my lesson was, I think I went as heavy as 4 GLs on defense, and at this time there are 8. That's something that flies in 5s because you have a lot of options to piece together, pull cooldowns, blah, 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 to chunk down an opponent's board when there's 4, 8, 11 teams, not 15 to clear just on squads. So don't play games with being too heavy on defense. That's kind of a maxim of 3s in general, but I don't know. Like this last couple sets of crons had me feeling gutsy, and I went 1-2 in the top bracket. I've gone 2-1 before. I've never gone 3-0. So it isn't my finest showing. But if I had to do it all over again, I think I would have saved 1 GL, and I think I would have done a little less honesty up front, a little less GLs where our opponent could see them and let him wonder, is it 1, is it 2, is it 3 in the back? Leave that to the enemy to sweat out. As far as these new characters go, if you're saving them for attack, have a prescribed idea where you're going to apply them. Otherwise, the conventional wisdom with new characters is set it on defense and let your opponent sweat it out. All right. As always, folks, I know Dagger had to dip out before we were finished here. I know I had to expand on that last segment to cover what I missed earlier. My apologies, bro. It's all love. But to TJ and to Sasha Isha as well, thank you all so much for making the time to make this recording. Appreciate your time. And to all of our subscribers here on YouTube, this video is coming out on Friday. Thank you for your viewership. And of course, to our patrons, this video I'll put out tomorrow morning. It should be up here by Wednesday morning. Hopefully this helps you in your advanced planning for week 2. All right, and until next time, it's been real, it's been awesome, it's been real awesome. Take care.